Good afternoon, gentlemen. In our sequence of video, we had uploaded role of EME during Kargil operation. In continuation to the same topic, today I would like to discuss role of Army Base Workshop and Advanced Workshop towards Kargil operation. Before we do the same, it is pertinent to note certain food for thought I wanted to give it. And those are, first, we have already talked about this is our semblance of this is our core batch, Corps of EME. We did talk about various operations being done in during Kargil operation. There's some of the photograph repair, and there's some of the recovery effort which are there. Food for thought, I brought up last time, that famous 2-to-3 doctrine, which has cut the tail to the extent that is without tail of services, needs to be rethought of. And second is, with proliferation technology, every soldier will have to be technical and every officer will have to be technical savvy or engineering graduate, as far as army is concerned. Concept of being user and repair do not go hand in hand. Our own strategy of short duration war akin to Bangladesh no more stands logical in view of ensuring Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Hamas, and our own experience to stand up with the China. Hence, there's need to rethink about the Sekatka committee, which had tried to reduce 2-to-3 ratio and disbandment of, which had led to disbandment of base workshops and static EME units like station workshops. Some of these points I have already brought across earlier. Now, another point which we need to again ponder about, that in the glory of 25th year Kargil operation, EME has not found any place in its history, neither officially nor by many writers, experts who have written innumerable books on the subject. So many TV discussions have taken place and are taking place now to celebrate the glory of Kargil on its 25th year. But no one has talked about the role of logistics. Everyone has talked about how men have braved with even probability of success of 1%. Like any of the units, we also lost our brave hearts, brave soldiers, performing their solemn duties. My friend, Lieutenant Vinod Bhatia has rightly said that power that we must understand the difference between cost to money and value of money. In similar connotation, I say power that we, infantry, armor, who ultimately run army, must understand and recognize difference between success acclaimed and glorified and value of sweat and blood and sacrifice and labor behind the scene, whose contribution no less and do deserve at least a pat. Like reservation, services have been taken for granted as a right. Rethink attachment policy of EME officers with infantry, which I'll be talking subsequently. Let us now talk about the role of 4th echelon and officers from there. Before I go on the role of Army Base Workshop, that is 4th echelon of EME, it is pertinent to talk about attachment of EME officers with infantry units. All officers on commission to Corps of EME are attached and remain integral part of infantry battalion for 2 years, so as to have younger age profile and increased availability of officers to infantry units. Laurels learned by them, earned by them in operation never comes to EME. This was a brainchild of power that we, of recent time, it never existed during our time. We as a second lieutenant had joined our units and we devoted a total time to become a professional and technical person. After 2 years of attachment with the infantry unit, he goes to Vivos and briefly is attached with the units, EME units before he goes for equipment course or degree, depend upon the type of entry that he's in. By the time he comes back to EME units, he's senior enough to become OC. Engineering cannot be learnt late and not without soiling your hands. Here, these officers come back to EME to become a manager rather than a technical person. Their affiliation remains with infant units and manages the environment with his network. Officers have become managers, managing environment for good ACR and marking time for the tenure to remain event-free. Professionalism has been left to HMTs and JCOs. All stations, non-productivities are, again, by the formation, is supposed to be the EME's headache. These officers learn to manage 2 years, learn to manage for 2 years and go on for promotion. One, okay. Having seen that around there, then to know what is compromised. Let's understand. Saga of rich heritage, innovation, and technology excellence gets compromised. Why? During my 10 years in service, I have seen extraordinary innovation and technical excellence being performed by our men. Let me just tell you, I have been part of Army-based workshop for at least 11 years at every rank, and I've been part of units as well. Everywhere, innovation and technology played a key role. That is the time, the first time, even you can say, we had geniuses in the Corps of EME who produced multi-layered PCBs in 80s, 90s. They just give one instance, one Colonel B.P. Singh of Corps of EME, who designed a visual simulator for radar superphoton radar mass, for which about 10 crores rupees was kept aside in Union budget 1981-82. And with his innovation and equipment much superior to what we were trying to import, quantity 20 of them, we could manage and produce quantity 70 of those simulators with a cost of 30 to 40, 50 lakhs only. Now, as I said, since the officers remain on attachment, they don't get attached with technology and technique and what to learn develop the innovative bend of mind. The enhancing professionalism gets compromised. Assimilation technique gets compromised. Managing new technology again becomes a problem. Provide intimate engineering support and field deployment of state-of-the-art equipment again gets compromised. If that is the case now, having told you there is a need to reassess attachment of EME officers with infant unit for first initial 2 years. Yes, initially there had been a problem, and few years we must revert back. We have already talked about that we have got 4 echelons repaired. We did talk about in last video. Advanced base workshops, Army base workshops form the 4th echelon of repair. Station workshop used to provide engine support to the static units, which has since been disbanded on recommendation of the Saga committee. Now, having seen this now let's go back to what Saga committee had talked about it. He has said, report of Saga committee 2006 had recommended disbanding all station workshop, advanced base workshop, and army base workshop, leaving only field EME units around there. Restructuring of repair echelon in the army to include base workshop, advanced base workshop, and static station workshop in the field army was to be totally disbanded. As a result now, advanced base workshop 2, one at Guwahati and one at Udhampur, has already been disbanded. All station workshops have been disbanded since then. But the problem is, who is going to do the duties which those static units were doing it? On ground, situation is really grave. Even at field units where manpower is reduced, the static load, though we say it is being outsourced, but on ground, it is the pooling of the resources from the field units which are doing the same job. Now, what have we lost? That you have to think. This is a recommendation what Kargil committee. I'll just tell you now the three advanced workshop contribution to Kargil operation. There's one advanced workshop, which was I told you at Udhampur, at Guwahati, and three advanced was at Udhampur. And the contribution of three advanced base workshop towards the war effort during Kargil cannot be underplayed. They supplemented the field units. They were the node where all high-tech equipment would be serviced and returned to the field units as fast as possible. They were the resources under the command of MGME, both Eastern and Northern Command, where he had the flexibility to shift and allocate duties and responsibility as and when required. They had competent manpower, and these particular manpower could be utilized and had been utilized during the operation itself. Kargil, it supplemented the field units in terms of manpower, spares, advanced repair facilities, fast routable repairs, PCB testing, repairs, etc., to enhance fighting capabilities of Northern Army. Backward flow of repairables was arrested at this level only. One has to be in it to understand the contribution of three advanced base workshop. Besides, these two base workshop investment, when we start from the inception itself, first one advanced base workshop came back after 1962 Operation China aggression. And it became the hub center to arrest and refurbish the equipment as fast as possible and as ahead as possible. Unfortunately, since then, 62 onwards, amount of money which had been pumped in and the infrastructure which had been created, which will convert a few hundred and thousands of crores of rupees. By disbandment, where have these equipments gone? Where the manpower who had developed the technique and technology to handle the equipments have all been lost. The competence which they had developed had been wasted. If we calculate the total cost of disbandment itself from the inception to date, and the loss would be much more than what has been anticipated and calculated. We were trying to save few hundred and thousands rupees by disbanding these base workshops, but what we have lost is much more than what we could have even compromised for. Okay, now, besides these two estates, which has already been disbanded, we have got probably no control over them. There are 8 base workshops are there. Out of 8 workshops, 7 are responsible for repair and overall equipment of the weapons, like some base workshops are overhauling equipments like tank T-72, others are other tanks, guns are being at Jabalpur. Similarly, spare parts are being made at 515 Army Base Workshop, Bangalore. Now, the committee recommendation has been that these base workshops should be disbanded and all these are to be operated on government-owned contractor-operated GoCo model. It was so mandated to hold conferences and consult with industry and participants. Well, can you imagine the gravity of the situation? With so many years of accumulation of equipment, facility which have been created, we go back and give it to a civil entity. He is supposed to take over those equipments and provide service. From where would he get the trained manpower? You make question back, tell it, same people, EME person or technician who are there, same people will keep operating. Is it possible? For how long? Our experience with outsourcing has not been very happy. Imagine the tanks which are now operating in Leh are these particular people, the companies which are there, whom we are saying we call GoPos, are going to operate, service those equipment there. Even if they do so, they would be looking at their profit margin. Here in Basework, we don't look at the profit. We look at the equipment, we look at the reliability, we look at the availability. As a result, EME has tried to tell everyone that the disband, you've already done great disservice by disbanding station workshop and two advanced base workshop, whose effect has already been started being felt, but the audience, they may or may not openly say about that. We have been telling that it will be inefficient, it will be unpredictable, contracts can fail anytime because of many unseen reasons, including unionism and profitability. It will have increased costs as we go ahead. We cannot be working on L1 model. It is a technology. Everyone can't handle it. You can't give it to XYZ the way you feel like. Stabilization will have its own timeline. Private companies in India do not have the necessary skill to implement this work. The model will deplete the army's capability built over years to overall equipment. Even suggested PPP guidelines for practitioners issued by Department of Economic Affairs, the Ministry of Finance, states may not be adequate. It states a PPP means an arrangement between government or statutory entity or government-owned entity on one side and a private sector entity on the other side for the provision of public asset and or related services of public benefit through investment being made by and or management undertaken by the private sector entity for a specified period of time, where there is a substantial risk sharing with the private sector and the private sector receives performance-linked payment that conforms or the benchmark to a specific predetermined and measurable performance standards. Very nice. It's all good English. But would this, if they fail, what will do? We can penalize them. From where would you get money? He says, I don't have money to pay. Even if you pay, you get money. But who's going to look after the equipment? What is the ultimate result? So there's a high time, as I personally feel, this high time, we must have rethink. These people, I said, as I have had 11 years of interaction as a captain, as a major, as lieutenant colonel, and as full colonel. In all, 3 base workshops, Agra, Meerut, and Bangalore. I have got a lot of love and affection for those people around there. They have all stood with me in times of need, and they have produced what others, even civil, could not afford to do. Okay, now I'll give you an example of one base workshop that is called 515. That is, and this happened during the Kargil operation. I'll just give the example only. When the operation is started, Mi-8 Pratap helicopter is a Russian-built helicopter used by IF, which generally used in hostile environment and remote destination, with carrying capacity of 4 tons of cargo in its large rear loading cargo, or it can also take on slung load up 24 personnel. Due to typical in-hospital training and anticipated war zone, Mi-8 had to be exploited to hit the hilt for carrying all types of supplies needed by troops operating before, during, and after the operation, especially during the Kargil operation. We did not, after Bangladesh operation, we did not have major operation wherein this labor exploitation was expected. So, just before the commencement of the actual operation, Indian Army realized, or Air Force realized, the skid boats 1,500 mm by 750 mm by 12 mm for Pratap Mi-8 helicopter was either very less as compared to actual requirement, or even if they were available, it may not be serviceable condition. After Bangladesh operation, as I said, this equipment was only used for training or for limited war exercise or dropping supplies during emergency like flood. Kargil operation was initially envisaged as a long drawn extended operation. Besides, infrastructure in terms of roads and reachability was quite inadequate. Hence, there was urgent need to manufacture skid boats before commencement of operation. Outsourcing to civil would take its own time, besides being unreliable. It was decided to task 515 Army Base Workshop, where I was doing General Manager Production, and to 58 Army Workshop. Technically, it required large workforce of carpenter, metalsmith, matching, then machining, forging, procurement of material within commandant's financial power, 20,000 rupees, 20,000 per day per item. Right quality of huge quantity of seasoned wood was a nightmare. We had few wood turning and cutting machine lying unutilized since ages. Revamping and operationalizing were tasked by itself. On receipt of the drawing on priority from ordnance and work order from base workshop, process of methodization commenced in right earnestness. Complete method engineering department stopped their routine work and full manpower was diverted to this work order to generate tentative bill of material and process involved. We had civilian workforce of variety of trades, but not the trade we required. As a result now, challenge was procurement raw materials within commander parts, procurement tools in large quantity, training and reskilling manpower of other trades, manufacturing parts so needed, and ensuring quality and its battle worthiness. Dispatch few lots as soon as possible before commencement of operation. As I said, I was the general manager and Brigadier Gupta was the commandant around there. It was to his credit that he managed to sanction the funds needed. But credit goes to my group officers, Colonel Crisosto, Colonel Pillai, group officer. There were group officers around there, Sudar Yadav, and foreman, Joginder was there. And these particular people around there, we also had Manoj Chakrabarti, educated around there, and Joginder Naidu, as I said, Venkatesh, and all the people around there, they started working in the right direction. I had Welfare Commissioner, George Kataban, with whom I had interaction with union, and believe it around there, what happened was a scene by itself. Every civilian workers, irrespective of the trade, volunteered to contribute their humble mite towards national cause. Kargil officers were already in on with Jai Ghosh of Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Hundreds of workers running, hammering, assembling, packing, and was a sight to be believed. No overtime, no complaint, no leave, no break. What a scene. Sound, cheer, hung bung, still rings in my ear on remembering it. Believe it or not, within 15 days, first few lots were airlifted as our humble effort to Kargil operation. Commandant 58 Base Workshop was surprised and wanted to know how could we achieve this miracle. Well, all credit goes to all my colleagues, workers who made me proud. So thank to my foreman, thank to my group officer who have stood with me. Okay. This is the operation. I don't have the exact skill book. This is used to drop. Thus, it's a new system, heavy dropper platform, which is developed by DRDO now. Its operation is almost similar. It is here is some equipment, here is some vehicle is there. There is some supply to be there, which is dropped, and it is dropped from air. Okay. Next major contribution was below the knee prosthetic joint. Just when Kargil operation was on, large number of casualties were reported. Many of them required below the knee prosthetic joint. Import cost of the same was 1.2 to 1.5 lakhs then. At that time, defense bioengineering and electromedical lab developed designed one such model of stainless steel annualized with reinforced carbon rods, state of art. Then 515 Army Base Workshop came forward to manufacture the same, being a spares manufacturer of ABW. Unfortunately, precision turning machine, slotting, milling, and spark erosion operation of stainless steel was not our forte then. The special facilities and tools like special cutters, turning tools had to be explored, procured, and tested. We explored the market at Bangalore with little success. Then Israeli-made cutters and some special tools were specially brought by hand from Bombay, and manufacturers started real earnestness. With trial and error, we were successful in manufacturing the same with cost less than 20,000 rupees. I took the sample to Artificial Limb Center personally for its evaluation. The then Commandant Brigadier Jan probably was very impressed and conveyed our exploits to Lieutenant Oberoi, who was staying at the center for refitment and evaluation of his own joint. He was very happy and proud of Corps of EME, as it was human service to our colleagues who are going to be having battle casualties. My personal experience of being involved with R&D is that we as EME are solution finders and have enough capabilities to think ahead. But our hierarchical system and long processing leaves much to be desired. Was 515 Army Base was moved ahead since then and is an ongoing process. From 1919 to 2001, 3,117 at an approximate cost of 24,650 has been manufactured and deposited to concerned depot. Way forward, they have added other ALC items, artificial limb item, as on required basis on order of the recommendation of Artificial Limb Center, Pune. A great service to our war casualties. My suggestion is why can't 515 or any other base workshop be permitted to manufacture such items for public use as well? Okay. What was this? This is some of the photographs of the Artificial Limb Center manufactured then below the prosthetic joint. Okay. There are other components of Artificial Limb Center which are being used or which are being procured, which are being developed, which are being manufactured. These are the famous diagram which are available. There's a layout. We have got sample room. So this is the place from the. This is the photograph of the sample room. Next comes the spare parts of Bofors. Oh, we are all aware of Bofors fiasco, which resulted in the fall of Sri Rajiv Gandhi and CBI in trying to nail the alleged recipients of payoff in the controversial Bofors gun deal. Deal was an excellent gun, but no spares packing. Exploiters and gun in the training or operation would certainly require spares, which were not coming from its country of origin. DGK is responsible for indigenization and vendor selection and development. All organized moves at their own pace. Fortunately, Corps of EME had indigenization cell under headquarters TG, drawing in a specimen of spares but not available. CODs responsible for spares procurement have tendency to give bulk order to civil firms for reasons best known to them and will give us low volume work ordered to us in spite of our personal interaction. Well, we had to move ahead and do what best we can do. Our strong methodization team at 515 and production complemented it with fastest possible production time. These spares certainly came handy during our Kargil and contributed its humble might in war machinery of army and encouraged us to pursue further. It is a continuous effort and ongoing exercise. It is the credit of all our workers and staff that concept of old work order went out of our production dictionary and reached highest ever production of spares of varieties of over 7,000 SUs. 515 since then has added many components. Indianization cell under headquarters had since been upgraded and carved out as drawing and specifying being Pune under Director of Indianization under Master General Ordnance MGO. Now imagine hundreds of Bofors guns are being used. From where, how would they operate if some of them fail? From where would they get the spare parts? So either it was, you have to, we call it cannibalization, use some parts from the old guns, which are non-operative, put it back in the new one, and still exploit them. It is the valor of young officers and young men. And credit goes to our technicians and the Corps of EME who has sustained this war by putting in extraordinary effort, by being innovative and being, finding solutions in the face of all the problems. There are some of the parts which had been manufactured or which are being manufactured. I'm not saying that we manufacture all the parts, but this was a direction then. We used to think that yes, spare parts can be manufactured and should be manufactured by reverse engineering methodology. This is what we have to talk about it. And I'm grateful to all of you to have listened to me. My only aim was to show that we can still, that we have capability, that's EME, to provide technical support to all type of equipments in the army. We have lived up to the expectations of others when needed, and we do expect they do also get our share, a bit of credit, if not at least a pat. Thank you all. Thank you.